Yes.
Yep.
So, Ken, you want to just talk about where you came from, who you were as a high school student, young
Yeah.
man,
Okay.
general?
Is he already? Okay. Very good. No, I was born in Turners Falls, 1933. I was the last of 8 children. My father passed away when I was 3 years old, so we had 8 in the family, and it was tight. It really worked out well. Every other one quit school to support the family, so I owe a lot to my older. I'm the only one alive today, but they were all helped out, and so that was it. I didn't have a real good childhood because we had nothing. We were basically brought up on welfare. It was aid for dependent children, but we all worked. Everybody in the family worked, though. In the summer, I lied about my age and worked on tobacco farm when I was 9 years old. You got like $10 a week. My mother took 8, and I got 2. And I said, something's wrong with this picture. But so education started to look good. But I graduated from Turners Falls High School, 1951. I was my class president. I played football and basketball. I really enjoyed football, but I did the others I just played, for something to do. But I also worked while I was playing football too. I still worked on weekends at First National Stores. We always had to work to help support the family, so it was really good. And 2 of my brothers were in World War II. One was in the Air Force, and one was in the Navy. The one in the Air Force was a radio man. He was on a C-47. He dropped the paratroopers over on D-Day and had a good experience in the service. The brother in the Navy was on the West Coast, and he was an aircraft carrier. So between the 2 of them, when I got out of high school, I knew I didn't have money to go to college. So I thought, well, the service is probably the best bet. So some of my classmates, they had turned 18, and I didn't turn 18 till quite a bit after I graduated. So they all signed up. They had to serve 4 years. Because I was 17, I only had to serve 3 years. So that was good. That was a good start. And I went to boot camp in Bainbridge, Maryland. I was there for three months, and I was the youngest guy in the company, and I had a real bunch of yahoos from South Carolina, North Carolina. I didn't care for country music, but that's all I heard, so I became a country western fan. But they were all older guys, so I had an education there too, dealing with them. And so I had three months there. After I got out of there, the good thing about it, when I went in, I told them I was interested in my brothers. I talked to both of them. I was trying to satisfy both of them. So I said, if I go in as an Airedale in the Navy, I'm paying my debt to my brother in the Air Force. Then I got in the Navy too. And my brother that was he was on an aircraft carrier, and he said, it's a good duty. Get on an aircraft carrier, you're all set. Good food. We always had ships with us, so if there was any problem, they would take care of them. So it was good. And I was the youngest guy in every group that I went. I got into a fighter squadron, and I was the youngest one in that group too. So I always ended up getting a good office job. So I was interested in bookkeeping all the time. So I was like an aviation storekeeper for a while. That was good. But it was really good. I mean, I was lucky that every place that I went, there was somebody that, I bonded well with them, and it was not some guys go in, they look at it as a penalty. And I didn't want to wait to be drafted because you don't get to pick where you go. I did have the fact that I told the recruiter at the time, I'm interested in being an Airedale, and that's what I did. I became an airman in the Navy. So my choices were go to a naval air station or an aircraft carrier. So I got both of them.
Oh.
So it worked out well. I was stationed at Quonset Point for a while too. That was a home port for a carrier. So it was right there. I was able sometimes to come home on weekends, and I did that. That was a really good duty there, and I had a nice job there. So, but everywhere that I went, I bonded with somebody that really seemed to help me out a lot too, and I never had to go. I was never shot at or anything like that. But on the aircraft carrier, you did everything they wanted you to do too. And the squadron I was in, it was an attack squadron. They were like in Korea. if you were somewhere and you could get the coordinates, if you were trapped somewhere and you could get your coordinates to the radio people, within 15 minutes they had a plane in the air with rocket. We had the rocket launchers on them, and they'd blow the hell out of them, whoever was holding them up. So it was, your contribution was our carrier trained the pilots to landing on a carrier, because that was a hard thing to do. Everybody, you're watching the movie, it looks so easy, but that ship is moving too, and it's pretty hard. But I never seen one go over the side on us, and it was an experience just to be part of that. And I can remember the hangar deck below the flight deck. I remember we had movies and everything. And we used to sit on bombs. They had all the bombs right there, and that was your seat. You just like riding a horse. But we always had good movies and stuff like that. We always had real good food. And the fact that I was in a supply division, if we went out on Liberty and came back late or something, we could always get a steak or something because we had cooks in our division. We were in charge of all the cooks and payroll too. So that's where it was good. Because if you didn't like an officer, payday, you could always find him to be the last guy in the line, So they all figured that out too. So it was a good experience. You had to deal with a lot of things, and I learned quickly how to get along with people, and it was a good experience for me. And all the while I was in there, I said, now when I get out, part of the reason I went in too, I thought of GI Bill. There's no way I was going to get to college, because we had no money. So that was the ultimate goal there, getting the GI Bill. So I did enjoy all the experiences I had. We went to different places and spent some time in Cuba. And the funny thing about in Cuba, one day I was there. The ship was in the just out in the outside a little bit, and we went into the base, and it was a beautiful base there. It was Guantanamo, and it was on a Sunday afternoon, and a bus pick you up and take you up to the EM Club. You could get a bottle of beer for 5 cents. And they still have it. I was watching a movie that was made in Cuba a few years ago, and sure enough they had the beer. Hot Tui was the name of it. They still have it there. But 5 cents per beer, so everybody was in there. And I was too young to drink, but once in a while we'd get it. They never enforced the age limit when we were there. But I was not a big drinker, but on the way to the EM Club, I saw the bus that came. Somebody was sick on the bus, and it was not in good shape. When I got on the bus, there were 3 guys on that bus from Turners Falls. And without knowing they were there, we all bumped into one another. So, and one of them still lived. That was Jimmy Dale in Turners Falls, and he was the guy that did the stuff on the bus. But we had just a nice experience there. They had a golf course there. So there's a lot of good things about being in the service too. And I felt that when I went in, I told the guy, you have me for 3 years and I don't care what you do. I'm serving my 3 years, put me where they want to send me. And I think the fact that I was young is why I got some of the breaks too. But it was a good experience, and you had to deal with everything that came up. Nobody felt sorry for you in the service. You had to deal with it, whatever happened. I had some of my shipmates, there were quite a few alcoholics too, that I didn't, I never had any experience with alcoholics, but it was quite an experience to see what they were going through. So I learned a lot there. And but the ultimate goal of mine was to get to college, and we did that. I got married 2 months before I got out of the Navy. I was 20 years old, and part of the plan was when we got married, I told my wife, my plan is to go to college, and I wanted to get away from Turners Falls, just get as far away as I could. You make it on your own. So while I was in the service, I had a sister that lived in Spokane, Washington, and she said, why don't you come out here? So that was my plan. I would just go out, stay a couple months with her, if I get accepted at a college. So I was accepted at 3 colleges. And then it was not like today you apply for colleges. The kids $100 to get an application in and all that baloney. The highest I ever paid was $10. So $30 I spent on applications. I was accepted at 3 colleges. And I said then you could make your final decision. You didn't have to do it right then. You could go out there, and I did that. We went out, we got married in July. In August, we left for Spokane. I had a car and a U-Haul and took what furniture we had and took off for Spokane. And when I got out there, I stayed with my sister, and I went to Gonzaga University, was a university right in the city. And the day that I went there, I was accepted at Washington State, but it's in the wheat country, and there are jobs there where you work at a gas station or work on a farm. And I didn't care too much for farming because I did the tobacco thing, and I didn't want to do that anymore. So the day that I went to Gonzaga, I went in, I talked to the registrar, and everything was all set. So I said, "You're planning on coming here?" I said, "Yeah, I thought so, but I was going to, visited all of them just to make sure." And the thing about being in Spokane, in the city, there's more chances for employment. Now, I knew I was married. My wife got pregnant on her honeymoon. I told her she took advantage of my innocence. But anyway, so I knew I was going to have to work. So when I went to Gonzaga, coming out, a guy stopped me and said, "Are you planning to go to school here?" And I said, "Yeah." I figured I might as well listen to this guy. And he said, "You married?" "Yep." "You're a veteran?" "Yep." "Would you like a job?" I said, "What doing?" He said, "I'm a Teamster rep, so driving trucks." So I got a job with Consolidated Freightways. So I went to school days and drove truck nights. And I did that for 5 years, all while I was in college. So that's how we went payday to payday, but, we were able to do it. I had my wife had 2 children while we were in college, so that made it a little tougher too. So when I got out of there, I came back to Amherst. My first teaching offer was in Concord, California for $7,200. That was now in 1954. And I came back. I knew my wife wanted to get back to New England, so I flew back and I had 4 interviews and I got 3 job offers. And the best one was in Amherst. And I just thought that would be a good place to be because they support education and they put the money in it, and it was a good place to work. So I got a job there in 54, and I taught for 6 years. Then when computers came out, Fitzgerald was the superintendent. It was probably one of the best superintendents in the area at the time. And he asked me if I'd be interested in, the schools that UMass was doing our scheduling and stuff, and they asked if I would be interested in being a coordinator between the schools and the university, see what the problem was, why it wasn't running smoothly. Then it ended up where we got our own equipment, and I ended up being director of data processing for the municipality and the school district. So I had a lot of bosses, but it was a very good place to work, and I did that. And so the whole thing, by going into service and seeing the opportunities there, I knew it was. They asked me when I was getting discharged, "You want to sign up?" I said, "Don't even waste your time on that. I know what I'm going to do," and I did it. The plan that I had worked well, and then I coached track for a few years, and then I started the officials group in Western Massachusetts, and that exists now. And we started out. I had a clinic at Amherst College that I set up, and I got John Thomas, who was an Olympic high jumper. He came and spoke to the people, so we got a good crowd of people, and that worked out well. And now that still exists. That's where all the Western Mass officials came to. Then I did all the UMass meets for 62 years. I did Dartmouth relays and the Dartmouth track meets for 28 years. So every weekend in January and February, I was up at the college there. But again, the people I met, one of the guys at Dartmouth, they had volunteer officials, was an admiral in the Navy. And he knew that I was a Navy man, so we hit it off well. So we went up there. Jimmy went up with a couple times to the meets there, and he liked the donuts up there. They really took very, very good care of you. But this admiral came up to me one day and he said, "Ken, see the flag up there? That flag isn't going the right direction. They had the stars and stripes on the wrong side. They had them mixed up." And he wanted me to go over, and I said, "Well, you got more pull than I have here." But they got it changed, They made it take the big flag down, put the flag back correctly. And that was something, but it was good, all of that. But that admiral became friends. He invited my wife would go up with me, and they invited me to their home once in a while, when I was up there for dinner. And it was just really, you just made nice contacts. And it was all a result of my going in the Navy when I was 17 years old. I got the GI Bill, and I used the Veterans Administration. Now people complain about the service. I've not had any bad problems there. I'm hearing impaired. They $6,000 for hearing aids. They took care of that, and it's just very good service, you know. And I think I try to, you know, get people to join that. I remember at one point the veterans, they opened the office here in Greenfield, and the people weren't signing up, so they were going to close it down because there was not enough business here. But I called everybody that I knew that was a veteran and go sign up, and they did keep it in Greenfield. Now we got a real good one in Greenfield. The service is good, and some people complain, but some people will complain about the weather too. But it's really good, and I just think the experience in the Navy, and when I was teaching too, it was good. You know, you could deal with, there's kids that, you know, you didn't like to see some days, but you had to put up with them. It was the same within the Navy too. You know, you had guys that you can't pick the guy that they send working with you. And I always remembered one thing, though, my brother said, you know, when you get in the Navy, make sure there's the guys that, if you're in a raft, you want to make sure in the raft that the guy isn't a big eater. You know, because they're not going to share too much food. So it was just good. I just learned a lot of things there, and it was a good experience for me. And although I didn't have to see any combat, I know we hit the people that got over there to fight, so it was good. I have a friend that said he doesn't come to the veterans luncheons because he doesn't feel he's a veteran because didn't feel he was a veteran because he was on the East Coast all the time. I said, you signed up, and basically what I told him, when I went in, I told him, you got me for 3 years, do what you want with me. And I said, you did the same thing. I said, now go take it. He never used the veterans benefits. So he did. He thought he had a hearing problem. So he went, and they cleaned his ears out. And after they cleaned his ears out, he didn't need a hearing aid. So that's the only time he used it. But it was good. So all of my experiences in the service were good experiences. And it just makes you, I think, a better season, too. And I think you get to respect all the people that did have to go. And I think one of the things that I would like to see someday, and I think Israel does it, is every person serves a meal 6 months, and women too. And it's a good way to show the people what the people have to go through in the military. And then you got a reserve right there. If you need troops, they're trained, even though it's only 6 months. It's something that I think they get to appreciate their country more, and I know I do. Then when I officiated track, I got to do international meets too, and 2 Olympic Games, and you got to meet all of these different people from all over, and it made it a lot easier too. I know that in Atlanta one time, I had a problem with the people could only compete if they had their team uniform, and the Russian guy, one of the guys, the hammer throwers, big guys, and one guy, when he checked in, one guy was already competing on the field, and then he was going to be competing later, but they came out and told me the guy doesn't team uniform, but he can't compete. So I said, I think I have the answer. The big guy is out there. I'm going to get his shirt when he comes in. So when he came in off the field, I grabbed him, and of course, I couldn't speak Russian, but I told him, I want your shirt. So he thought I wanted a souvenir. And he's a big guy. He's not going to give me a shirt. So we did have interpreters, so I got a Russian one come over, and I finally got the guy's shirt. So, but then when they explained to him what I was doing with it, he came over and gave me a big hug, and boy, did he smell. I guess the guy never took a bath in his life. It was just awful. And I thought, if a Russian comes to hug you, watch out. But anyway, that was the experience with that. But again, you met people from all over Australia. I had opportunities as a result of this to go to, I could have gone to Beijing, I could have gone to Seoul, Korea, and then to Japan. And I didn't go to all of them because I thought my wife would leave me if I did it, because I was away from home a lot with that. So anyway, this is all a result of having gone in the Navy when I did, and making your own breaks. If you sit there and feel sorry for yourself, it's not going to help you at all. And I have put 4 children through college, and they all did very well. 2 CPAs, a teacher, and 2 CPAs, a teacher, and a computer programmer. And they all have good jobs. I have 11 grandchildren, 2 grandchildren, and 2 great-grandchildren, and they all get along. We have a real nice family, and enjoy life, and I just had a good life. And it's all a result, though, I think, of going in the service, getting the GI Bill, and I served my country, and I was proud of that too, and That's
What
it.
What is building bridges? What has that meant to you?
Pardon?
What has building bridges meant to you?
I'm sorry.
Building bridges.
Oh, building bridges.
Yeah.
Oh, well, when that started, that was really good, and we called everybody we knew, Jim and I, to go to it, and it's really nice just to get everybody together, and I think people really do appreciate that too. You get that one guy that I met in Cuba. He hasn't come to one yet because he doesn't feel comfortable, but I'm going to get him to come one of these days too. But it's good, no, but it's really nice. I think all the guys appreciate it, and it's just nice to you bond with people that never so often you meet somebody that served with you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good deal.
Favorite building bridges meal?
Pardon?
Your favorite building bridges meal?
I'm waiting for him to have a fillet, but no. Well, everything is good. It's a good thing. It's something different all the time, and that's the important thing. And I know all the guys pretty much enjoy it, and the desserts too, and it's nice.
Right.
So I think they do appreciate it, and it's just nice to get them together.
Yeah.
I got to meet Stan. I remember Stan played baseball years ago. He's a real hell of a pitcher, and I remember him. And then now to see him today, with his cane here.
Is he still a hell of a pitcher?
Yeah. Yeah. No, he was really good though.
That's great.